Greetings, gentlemen and ladies. I am the old school game snob, and in today's video I'm going to be reviewing Diablo Resurrected. Welcome back to the world of Sanctuary. Some of you have been gone for too long, some of you never left, and some of you have never played this game before. And that is who this video is geared towards, those new players, those who have not yet explored the wonderful game which is Diablo. This review might as well be titled in praise of Diablo Resurrected because, spoiler alert, this is a absolutely fabulous game and I am absolutely in love with it as much as I ever used to be from back in the day when I used to play the original Diablo 2 classic. This game has revitalized, rebirthed, and reinvigorated the Diablo 2 community. It is absolutely crazy what's going on right now. The trade boards are going nuts with new trades being posted every minute. It seems like people are absolutely loving this game. The reviews are in, they are glowing, they are positive, aside from a few bugs and issues and server connection, things which you could really, expect on a big game launch. This game is being extremely well received. So let's dive into this review. All right. This is the game. This is the game that spawned a generation, a genre of games. This is the game that addicted and intrigued and fascinated, and so many people lost so many hours of time to playing back in the day that an entire genre was born because of how fun this game was. And that fun is entirely recaptured, line for line, element for element in Diablo 2 Resurrected. This is the original game. It has only been enhanced, improved, and upgraded and brought into, the modern day, the year 2022, as it were. Are we 2022? No, we're 2021. Well, there you go. This game is now in 2021. Regardless of the year, the game is solid. It's funny. Some of the old bugs in the original Diablo, there used to be this bug where if you tried to open one of the monastery doors, it didn't show that the door opened, but you could walk through it, but it didn't look like the door opened. And funnily, that's a word I'm going to use. Funnily enough, the bug exists somehow in Diablo Resurrected. The developers did state that they built the game by overlaying this graphical engine, this modern upgrade, over top of the original game's code. So what you are playing is in fact Diablo 2 Classic, but of course revamped for modern graphical expectations, modern PCs, modern resolutions on your screen, upgraded sound effects, upgraded environmental effects, all in all just brought into the modern day. And it is amazing how solid this game plays, how you wouldn't even realize that you're playing code, that you're playing a game engine rather that was developed 20 years ago. You might as well be playing something modern like Path of Exile or any modern game. That's how it feels to play. It's absolutely seamless, it's absolutely streamlined, it's beautiful, it's oh man, I should probably take a step back before you think my review is just a little too gushing, a little too fondling? Nah, let's say fond of? I don't know, man, but this is a fun game. I haven't had fun playing a game like this in a, very long time. I don't want to say as far back as Diablo 2, but it's been a while, and that's because, hey, modern games are different. They're a different breed, and Diablo 2, man, that is an original breed of game. It does not show you mercy, but it shows you a lot of reward for your continued devotion, for the addiction that it creates in you. It will reward you in absolute spades, sometimes with some of the most joyous moments of exhilaration when you find something like, Telrasha's lacquered plate, or a super duper rare high rune or something like that. This game rewards you, and the gameplay itself is absolutely addictive. It's been described as the perfect contained loop. It's funny just how replayable the gameplay loop is. It's funny just how replayable the quests are, the storyline is, and then what one would consider grinding for gear, grinding for levels, grinding for experience, what one would consider to be the monotonous part of gameplay is actually weirdly addictively fun. And I can say that as someone who's been doing that on and off for 20 years since the original game. It's weird. I wake up in the morning and my brain is like, you know what? Let's just grind a few Pindleskin runs, or let's just take out Eldritch the Rectifier and take out Pindleskin a few times, or let's just do a few Mephisto runs. And there's something just soothing about the gameplay mechanic of Diablo 2 that even if you don't even find anything good, it's just relaxing. It's just I don't know, it gets into the brain somehow, and it just creates this relaxed, fun, enjoyable state. I don't know, I think I'm trying to describe the word fun. The game is fun. It is just fun to play. Okay, alright, let's see, what else can I tell you about Diablo Resurrected? Now, I don't want to do too much comparison with other games, but I did play Path of Exile quite a bit. It wasn't one that hooked me, but I did play a number of characters up to the mid-level, and it was good, it was good, but it didn't feel like Diablo felt to me. It was its own game, and it's good, there's nothing wrong with it, but it didn't addict me. I also played, Diablo 3, the unfortunate successor to Diablo 2. Not really, though. It was, I played several characters also into their level 70s, and, I played it. It was okay, but it didn't addict me, Diablo 2, man, this game has a powerful ability to addict players to it. Like I say, it's a fun gameplay, but it also rewards you because your character starts from such a little weakling and becomes such a powerful thing, but all of the powers that you gain, they feel natural, they feel flowing, they feel like worthy upgrades to your previous power level, let's say. And a lot of these, say for example, the spells and abilities, they feel correct. Like, they feel powerful, but they also don't feel like so crazy like some other games. And again, I don't want to do too much comparison, but Path of Exile was one of those games that had so many crazy effects for like its abilities and spells, that it was just like so much happening all the time. And you didn't get the same feel from your spells or whatever, your lightning bolt or your frozen orb. There's something very visceral about the way Diablo does its effects for its spells and its abilities, the sound effects it applies to that, the way the monsters get hit. There's something that feels very visceral that really adds to the enjoyment, and I think helps to helps to create that sort of state of that sort of low-level hum of I'm just enjoying the grind of slaying monsters in the mind, right? So Diablo has done something which makes the gameplay, and it's really hard to put into words, but it's the design of it that creates a really visceral quality, and you really find yourself enjoying just running around, slaying monsters, casting powerful spells that feel really powerful, but they also don't feel really crazy. Like, they feel like they make sense. Like, they're powerful, but they're not crazy. They're not like flashy all over the place. They're like, they feel like, oh yeah, I'm a absolute badass now, right? Like, I'm a badass lightning sorceress, and my lightning bolts jump around to 8 different monsters, and it feels really cool. And like I say, the visual component to that, especially now in Diablo Resurrected, has been updated so much so that visceral quality is even enhanced even more. And I liked even that in the original game with the old graphics. Like, I could feel that. And I think that has something to do with the way that implement sound effects and also, like I say, the visual components to the game. But they've done something in such a way that's just so perfect in really bringing your emotions into the immersion, or really helps to bring your immersion into the game. Really helps to immerse you in the game. I think maybe that's what I'm trying to say. Really helps to immerse you in the game. Speaking of game immersion, if you've never played Diablo, you're in for a treat. If you pick up this game and you've never played Diablo, oh man, I suggest kicking back, getting a cup of tea, and just enjoying the quests, the storyline, because one of the most wonderful things about this game is that it's this game has created a world of characters, of entities, of heaven and hell, of demons and angels, which provides such a fascinating storyline. It's like one of the oldest stories, right? The battle between the heavens and the hells. And the way the narrative is handled, you will find yourself, I would dare say, you will find yourself immersed in the lore and the storyline of Diablo. So it's really got that going for new players. As seasoned players, we'd probably skip through the quest dialogue because we've heard it all before, but you remember where you are, you remember the world that you're in, and it lends so much to the enjoyment of this dark and it's been described as dark and gothic and evil, and monstrous environment and world that also, like I say, has powerful heroes and powerful champions. And anyway, let's see, what else can I tell you? There are a number of character classes to choose in Diablo. All of them are really, really unique. They feel so different, each one. You can be a master of one class and be a total noob at another, and even though you have a lot of experience playing Diablo, it'll feel like a very new game, a very different experience when you jump to a different class. There's just so much to learn, so much diversity, there's so much depth to this game that even pros of decades actually will continue to learn things that are new. There's things that even the pros don't know everything about. You would be surprised how much nuance and how much detail is in this game, and everything that you think you know initially can be flipped around because there's just different ways to approach the game. There's so many different things that an item you might think is useless might be an absolute fantastic item if you design a character build in just a certain way that it takes advantage of a combination of synergies and character abilities. I think the point that I'm trying to get to is that you can play the game once and have fun with one character class for a really, really long time, and then you can play the game again and it's a new game, and then you can play the game again and again and it's still different each time. And like I say, each character can kind of lend to it the other characters. You can find great items with one, your magic find sorceress, and then give that to your necromancer and make him super powerful. So your characters kind of all work in harmony with each other to help each other out. Each time you play Diablo, each time you load a new game, what happens is that the maps within the game, the monsters and everything are pretty much entirely randomized. There is a little bit of a logic to this, but like I say, even pros would be hard pressed to crack the logic of randomness. Now, this is, of course, true on Battle.net. If you play single player, you can get a fixed static map, but if you're playing Battle.net, which is kind of the authentic Diablo experience, if you ask me, the multiplayer Battle.net, even by yourself, just play single player, multiplayer Battle.net, and find items to trade with players and that sort of thing. That really lends to the overall experience of Diablo is the community. But the point that I was trying to get to is that every time you get into a game, it's going to be different. So you may know where the areas are, and you may know what they're generally all about, and in some cases you may even know which monsters are there. But again, you may not, because oftentimes areas get random selection of monsters, and sometimes what was an easy run through one time gets a combination of monsters that's so nasty together they absolutely take you out and flatten you. So, and that's the other thing too. So monsters can generate with different affixes, different special abilities and that sort of thing, and so you think you know something, but you don't always. You never really know what you're going to get, and some of the things you get are absolutely killers, absolutely devastating destroyers of players, and some of the things you get are tame little puppies. Not that you want to slay puppies, but that's a horrible thought. But what I mean is that they're not threatening, not hardly threatening at all, and you just never know where the balance is going to fall, where the cards are going to, or how the cards are going to fold every single game. So you can't get too comfortable, I think, is the point I'm trying to get to here, is that you can't get too comfortable. Even when you feel like you're good, don't get too comfortable, because the next monster, the next generation of randomness could create a synergy of power that entirely takes you by surprise. So you always need to stay on your toes when you're playing Diablo 2, Resurrected in this case. Speaking of monsters, that is also another thing that I really have always admired so much about Diablo, and I don't know if I've ever seen a game that has done it in quite the same way. And what's funny is I bet it's done with a certain amount of simplicity, but it's so effective. In a lot of games you might play, you see a monster, the monster shoots at you with a bow and an arrow or a spell, or it chases you, and it's very predictable. It's very routine, and you can really exploit the AI of a lot of monsters in a lot of games. The funny thing about Diablo is that the monsters, man, they seem smart. They seem like you really never know what they're going to do. Sometimes they charge straight at you, and you think they're going to try to take you out, and then they entirely run the other way, right? And then they're like all over the place. Some of them are like super fast. Some of them are, occasionally super fast. Some of them are like buffed and enhanced sometimes. Sometimes they're just normal. There's just so much variation that you really don't know what's going to go on. You can't really put your finger on what to expect each time you play through. Yes, you can have some pretty good ideas of what monsters are able to do, generally speaking, but at the same time, you never really are able to predict them in a sort of lame and boring sort of AI sort of way, because the AI is often programmed in such a way that it's quite sporadic, right? It'll surprise you. Certain things you can really get a feel for and you know what they're going to do. Other things are entirely unexpected, so it's really all over the map. And like I say, that lends to the longevity of the gameplay, is that you really never know what you're going to get, and every time's a little different, and you kind of always got to stay on your toes. And that is especially true if you ever try to play hardcore, which gives you one life and one life only, and that is the ultimate challenge in Diablo 2, in my humble opinion. If you play through softcore and you're a master and you're a pro and you get all the gear and you're like a god in the game because you've grinded for a year and you've just got everything, man, give hardcore a try, right? That's the real test. That's the real challenge. That's the reason, one of the reasons I should say, that the game stays so infinitely replayable, because the challenge level of hardcore is dialed up to 11 now, right? So, you might be pro, but are you pro enough to survive at hardcore? There you go. That's the question. This is a game that really appeals to treasure hunters. I dare say almost appeals to gamblers, right? Not really gamblers, but you never know what you're gonna find. You can go out one day and find the most amazing in-game coveted treasure, just like pop, there it is, and you're like, holy smokes, did that just happen, right? People can search for things for years and never find them. And then what's even more involved is that you may find an item and then there's a better version of that same item. It may roll slightly higher or slightly lower, so even if you find that ultimate item that you've always been looking for, there's still potentially an opportunity to get an even better one. So this is interesting, and that it really appeals, I think, to collectors and to completionists, and like I say, almost to like the gambler mentality, right, or the treasure hunter mentality, when you go out there and you just want to find great treasure and then you get rewarded by that great treasure because now you have such a powerful item and you're playing online and you can trade that item for other items that you're looking for. You might be able to gear up several characters for the value of one item that's so rare and so coveted that it's just worth so much to other players of the Diablo community. So yeah, this game really appeals, I think, to treasure hunters, and yeah, what else can I tell you? There is a cool PvP element to the game. There is, of course, hardcore play that keeps you challenged for a long time. There's, of course, the Holy Grail quest, which would have you try to find every item in the game, every unique and special legendary item in the game. There is the social community of Diablo 2, such a fanatic and honestly friendly and helpful player base for the most part. You'll get the occasional sour apple, but a lot of players of Diablo 2, man, they're cool. They kick back. We enjoy just running around and playing online and grinding the cow level and doing bail runs and looking for great loot. Man, it's just fun. It's just a lot of fun. It's a fun game with a fun social component, like a fun community, and it's just a really good gameplay loop. Yeah, like I say, you can play it for a long time and still have stuff that you haven't done, in terms of experimenting with character classes and character builds, and in terms of even finding items that you've never found before. I've played so much, and there's still items I've never seen drop ever, right? Like, it's amazing. Like, it's amazing how precious some items are in this game, and also how powerful. Like, when you find some items in this game, your power level can elevate so substantially that it really feels like a worthy upgrade, like a worthy thing to quest for. So, but yeah, in terms of Diablo 2 Resurrected, it is a very, very good update. It's a very solid game. It is Diablo classic, but it is a modern game. If you're a fan of the top-down action role-playing game, man, this is the one that started it all. If you've never tried Diablo 2, try it out, man. Like, there is a reason that this game spawned a generation of games after it. And if all that you have ever played are Diablo 2's spiritual successors, man, try the game that started it. There's something magical about it. There's something, nuancy. There's something particular that's hard to put a finger on. It's something hard to describe about the gameplay of Diablo 2 that's just addictive on a whole other level. So I'm going to stop this review here. You know what? I don't know if this was a review. This is a rant sort of review, sort of perspective on my experience with Diablo 2, my appreciation for the game and its developers, Vicarious Visions, the company that remastered the game, of course, original Blizzard developers who created the game in the first place. Man, this is a great game. So yeah, check it out if you have never played it, and otherwise, I'm gonna get back to farming Mephisto here. All right.